Now, when you go out in the woods, it's really important, of course, to try to fool a deer's senses. And I'm talking about his ability or her ability to see us, smell us, and then certainly hear us. And out of those three senses, sight, sound, and scent, there's one to me that sticks above the rest by far, is way more important than the other two. You know, of course, I talk about scent control. I have a YouTube video out there that I think it's approaching 100,000 views, so it's obviously a hot topic of, and I talk about scent control. Scent control really is a non-factor if you know how to locate your stand or your blind appropriately. So if you're actually putting your blind in a position that allows you to get in and out without spooking deer, allows you to sit on stand and blow your scent into a non-deer area, for example, maybe these mature pines behind me right here, then you really take your scent out of it. It doesn't really matter how much you smell. Now, I like practicing scent control, so I'm not leaving a scent trail in and out of the stand. But once I'm in the stand, then, and you're in the stand, your stand should be positioned that you're taking your scent out of the picture, that deer aren't going to get downwind you. Because let's face it, if a mature buck gets downwind of you in most states, especially the upper Midwest, doe or buck, then they're going to spook, they're going to run. You know, of course, sight, we have all the latest, greatest camos, and everyone is so particular about their camo patterns, no different than Ford, Chevy, Dodge. But the choice is, there's a lot of camo. I like something that's a little bit lighter because I'm a tree stand hunter. I'm up in the stand all the time. That being said, does a camo pattern really make you a better hunter or make you blend into the woods that much more? If you're using a backdrop, you're not silhouetting yourself in the stand, you're using a decent sized trunk, you have trunks around you, then a lot of times you can blend right in. And if you're not over hunting your stands and sitting in them every week, several times per week, then those deer are never going to know that you're in those stands. So the sight factor is not really a big factor. The scent factor is not really a big factor. But folks, hearing and the ability for a deer to hear you, and when you get in and out of your stands, as you access to your stands, it all starts with hearing. And I'll even say when you start the truck. You know, we have the properties I personally hunt. I'm hunting 40-acre parcels, 3 of them. I hunt a lot of small tracts. I hunt public land where deer are skittish. And so if I'm banging and clanging stands, making a lot of noise at the truck, if my ding, ding, ding's going off in the truck because I left my keys in there or my lights are on, then that just makes me cringe. I can't stand it. So for me, that being quiet starts right at the truck. And then when I'm walking in, if my gear, my clothing, if it squeaks, if I have a backpack that snaps or rattling, if I have gear that's moving around, I can't stand it. And if I'm walking in with someone that's the same thing, I'm going to say something. I can't help it. I couldn't help it since the late 80s. I can remember those awkward moments where, can you please keep that quiet? You know, I'm trying to sneak into very small parcels. And in the late 80s, I was hunting parcels that were 5 acres, 10 acres. We just couldn't afford to spook deer a half mile from the woodlot when we were walking across an ag field, because we saw that happen. We saw that happen even in the middle of the day where deer would run out the back or just being too noisy. And the ability to get into your stand and get to your stand undetected is critical. Now, it does not mean I'm going to go out with a leaf blower and blow off all the leaves in late October when they fall right before the rut or during the rut and make it so it's leaf free. Your ability to walk heel to toe and roll your foot forward. You can walk through dry leaves, you can walk through water, you can walk very, very quietly on the way to your stand. I've taught my kids to do that. You don't want to stomp to your stand. You don't want to walk on your toes. You walk heel to toe, roll it forward. And so the closer I get to my stand, the slower I walk and the quieter I become. Now, once you get to the stand, a quiet, quality tree stand is critical. We use family tradition tree stands. They're basically attached almost permanently to the tree. They will not move. They do not creak. They don't have any kinds of snaps or any kinds of fittings that need to be put through, pins, cotter pins, to actually hold that stand together. The actual stand itself, that's the ladder. The actual stand has, you know, we put it on a T-screw, we ratchet it to the tree. But whatever stand you're using, it's got to be quiet. And think of it this way, if you can hear it 100 yards away, if you can hear it 150 yards away, heck, that's halfway across almost a lot of 40s. You know, a 40 acre parcel is 440 by 440 yards. So then 220 yards in, if that deer can hear, you're clearing out half your property. No, it probably won't affect the does and fawns and young bucks, but I'm here to tell you it will affect the mature bucks and being quiet. And so a lot of times, you know, you're starting at the truck, you do really well. You make it to your stand, you're doing great. And then you climb into this creaky ladder stand that a deer can hear from 200 yards away. To me, I just ruined my hunt. I've literally climbed into a tree, made a noise, knowing that I was 75 yards away from a bedding area, knowing that if a mature buck was there that I'm hunting, could hear me, my hunt is done. I've literally gone to another tree stand for that same wind because I felt that my hunt was ruined and I didn't want to waste that sit opportunity. I'd go somewhere else. So that critical, it's been that critical to me for decades. So the stand has to be critical. And then of course all your gear, your bow, whatever you're doing in the stand, moving around. And let's say even if your clothing is less than ideal for being quiet, well then just make sure when a deer comes in that you're leaning away from the tree. If you're heated up and sweated, there's a lot of times where my back is frozen to the tree because I've been so sweaty. I move forward, I move back, make sure that's peeled off and I'm free before a deer comes in. So you're really trying to think, when that deer comes in, can I move and get on him? Now, of course, you have to make sure he doesn't see you. Of course, you already have taken care of, they don't want to make sure that he can smell you. But you're looking at that situation, you're saying, can I get on that deer without making a sound? If your clothing, bow, whatever it might be, pack, whatever branch off by your arm, if it makes noise and it's gonna hinder you from being absolutely dead quiet when that moment of opportunity comes in, then I'd get rid of it, change it, buy something different. It's that critical. So overall, the ability for a deer to hear you and for you to clear out, I firmly believe there's a lot of hunts, and I know it's happened to myself, that's how I've learned this, that have been cleared out and your hunt is over before it even begins. And I'll flip back, we're in the UP of Michigan right now, just a few miles from now where I had some property. I can remember a really important sit. I couldn't wait to sit, opening day of bow season, I think it was 1999. Went into my stand, had a quiet access, sandy access, get under my tree, starting to get daylight, and I couldn't wait. And I had my release hanging from my wrist. I went to check my time. The release hit the top of my bow, made a noise. Immediately, deer blew at me 200 yards away. And my opening day sit that I couldn't wait for and had worked on the land so hard for and put those stands in that location was literally over before it started. It pays to be ultra quiet. Being quiet in the woods is the most important thing about a predator moving through the property. I'll give you one more example. You know, if some type of cougar, some type of giant cat moves through the property, they're gonna stink. A deer could actually see them if they looked at them and saw them moving. But a cougar has that ability to move through your entire property without being detected, and that is largely based on their ability to not make one sound when they're walking through your property. Hunt like a predator, be as quiet as possible, and it'll really pay off in the deer woods this fall.